This is Walk Talk Football, the show where we talk about everything that's on your mind. Today we have a lot of Premier League stuff. We also have some questions about the Neymar incident. Everton's manager got fired, as well as some general Q&A, so let's walk. All right, guys, let's kick it off in the Premier League. First question, what are your thoughts on Huddersfield beating Man United? I mean, it's awesome for Huddersfield, obviously. Tough for Man United fans. A couple minor errors that led to big moments for Huddersfield, but 3 points for them. Huge moment in their history, and so great, good on them. Despite United's injury problems, they should still be performing the way they had since coming back from the international break. What do you think should change? Honestly, the last game they lost, again, 2 individual errors. It wasn't like they played poorly. They played decent for long stretches. But again, those mistakes came right up the spine of the pitch. You have multiple injuries in your back line, as well as your center midfield with Fellaini, as well as Pogba out. Once those players are coming back, you're going to shore up that middle of the park, that spine of the team, which should eliminate any of their issues. With this loss, what effects will it have on Man United's possibility of winning the title, especially with the form Man City is in? Any changes? I don't think they necessarily have to make changes, but they do have to play Tottenham and Chelsea in their next 2 games, so Man United are definitely up against it. Having said that, those points, if they can get 6 points in those games, should put them or keep them into the title race, even though they are 5 points out right now behind Manchester City. So what else do we have here? Let's see. Is Kevin De Bruyne a top 5 midfielder at this moment? 100%. I mean, I've never heard Pep Guardiola speak higher about a player than you have with Kevin De Bruyne. He's so good. If you saw his through balls, it's just his ability to do just about everything on the pitch is incredible, whether you want to consider him a midfielder, striker, or some sort of offset something. Incredible player, world class. How far will Watford go? And from here, how does the season look for United? Well, I've already answered my question on United, but for Watford, I mean, they've been surprisingly good, although I would have expected them to get a result this weekend, which they didn't end up doing, but still an impressive start to the season. Again, it's a long year. A team like that can easily drop to middle of the table, or even, I wouldn't say far behind, because they've shown this ability to compete with the best teams in the league. So hopefully we'll get to see some more exciting stuff out of them for the rest of the year. Would it be premature of the Everton board to give Koeman, I'm not sure how to pronounce it correctly, the boot? Situation reminds me slightly of Tottenham post-Bale, with lots of smaller signings to replace a big sale. I think it is premature. I think he deserved more than that. They spent a lot of money, and that means a lot of moving pieces, a lot of new pieces to their squad, and making changes to the team is going to take some time for them to make the replacements that they need. Not just the replacements, but for those replacements to be able to settle in and play at the international level or at the highest level possible. I think right now, obviously, they've struggled the whole year. They're coming off the back of an incredibly difficult start to the season because of who they had to play against in the league, and then now they're just showing that they just can't get it right. I mean, and that's tough, but I do think that it's not necessarily falling on the manager. It just takes some time. A lot of those players were young players that they signed as well, by the way. All right, guys, lots of questions within one question, I guess. North London beat that ass on Liverpool. Are Arsenal back? How fire is Tottenham? Chelsea with an emotional win. All great points. You've almost hit it spot on. Liverpool struggling. Arsenal clawing their way back into a match, which, you know, you see Arsenal and it just shows you how good they can be. From start to finish in that game, very impressive. Everybody was on the same page. It finally looked like Ozil was motivated. It looked like Sanchez was motivated, even though they had a few outbursts. It was pretty cool to see the team come together, because who knows how much longer it'll last for. Next question. Mbappe is my golden boy. Dembele came in a distant second, with Rashford and Gabriel Jesus rounding out the top 4. Pulisic in 6th, right call? Look, I think Pulisic is an incredible player. 6th, I'd probably put him in my top 5 for the best golden boys in the world, but how can you compete with Mbappe? He should have been also up for World Player of the Year, not just, maybe he is, but not just the Young Boy Award, but Golden Boy Award. It's a weird name, Golden Boy. Golden Boy. Moving on from that, LOL, the baguette being thrown at Neymar could not be more French. Heath Pearce, what is the weirdest thing thrown at you or your team? I mean, I've seen some really crazy stuff thrown onto fields, inappropriate things that don't belong in a stadium, but mostly the things you get is like, you know, I've been hit by coins, lighters, I've been almost hit by bags of pee, but when you get into the corner flags, you have lots of beers being thrown down. It's usually they don't even make it to the pitch. It's usually the people throw them from the top and they hit the people at the bottom trying to hit the field, and then realize they don't have a Major League Baseball quality arm, and they've just soaked fellow fans below them. Heath, hashtag save the crew. If Columbus Crew doesn't move, could Austin still expect an MLS team? I doubt it. I think there's been a lot of My opinion on this crew thing is that I feel like the ownership group is lobbying to get a stadium downtown, and they're going public about it because it's creating a lot of stir, which means that's going to force the hand if they feel the city to help them build a downtown stadium. I don't know what the truth to any of this is because it feels like we're getting information from all directions, but clearly the owner has acknowledged the mistakes he's making along the way, doesn't seem willing to solve the problem. Biggest issue for me is not refunding season tickets to the fans. That is so wrong on every level. People should have a right and a choice, and you can't take their money and then drop news on them like that. But that's a subject for another time. Actually, it's not. It's a subject for right now. This is completely unacceptable behavior, and I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the fans in a lot of ways because moving teams is a part of all that. But the way that they've gone about this whole thing, whether it's truly to move the team or to lobby for a stadium downtown in Columbus, I'm not really sure what the intentions are, but regardless, it's been handled so poorly. And you would think a man of his stature, of the owner's stature, would know how to handle PR. He'd have a team put together and they'd be going over this for months, making sure that they do whatever decision they're gonna make, they do it right, and it seems like they just haven't even gotten close. All right, moving on to some general Q&A, stuff that I like to talk about. Usually this is around like big moments, but today we're gonna talk about some other interesting things. How influential is a manager's halftime talk? Ever have games where you didn't take anything on board and still won? Absolutely. I mean, every manager is different. I think the biggest thing that it comes down to is trust. You know, it's all about managers' trust. And if guys trust the manager, they'll buy into the halftime talks. And I've had managers where everybody just kind of checks out and goes, we know what to do. I've had managers where everybody comes in and goes like, oh man, why didn't we think of that? It's such an easy answer. So each one is different and each guy is different. Sometimes you come in, you're so exhausted, all you want to do is get some Gatorade or some sort of drink to kind of rehydrate and kind of catch your breath and recover. Sometimes you actually need a little bit of a kick in the ass, or sometimes you need a little motivational speech. So it's up to the manager to know when those moments are, know those subtleties on how to get the most out of your team. But you know, there's not one way that's right or wrong, as each one of us kind of take information differently. Hashtag what WTF is wrong with Dortmund? They've allowed Bayern back into it. They're both tied at the top of the table, 1 and 2 now, I think on 20 points. And this is where I see Bayern starting to be able to kind of take off and Dortmund kind of fall apart. Look, Dortmund are a young team. They're so talented. They're so fun to watch. I recommend, even if they're not in first place, that you watch them play because it's a lot of fun. It's entertaining football. But what's wrong with them? Can't really pinpoint that other than the fact that they're gonna make mistakes. They don't have the depth, money, or quality of say, Bayern Munich, who are also making mistakes this year. But it's back down to that 1-2-3 race that we saw last year, which is Dortmund, Leipzig, and Bayern, which actually makes the league exciting, and they're all really tight on points. So make sure you guys are keeping an eye out on that league. Who has the better chance of becoming a top-tier future manager? Those who coach U17 academies or assistant managers that become caretakers? Again, there's no perfect answer to that. Each coach is going to be different and how he handles those atmospheres. I've had coaches that come from the youth ranks into the pro ranks, and you know, my coach when I was in Germany, he came from the U21 German national team head coach, and he didn't know how to handle adults. He didn't know how to speak to adults and handle them differently. He was used to that youth and kind of energy and whatever, where everybody's responsive, whereas at the highest level, you're dealing with a lot more egos and you're dealing with a lot more what you would think is men, but very sensitive egos, very insecure egos. So there's no perfect answer to that. But again, it's just so hard to say who's going to be able to take that next step. We've seen some really leap from the U17s. We've seen caretakers. We've seen it all fail and succeed at the highest level. All right, would ProRail help solve the real issues, developing domestic players and eliminating pay-to-play? I don't know if it'll eliminate pay-to-play. That's a whole nother set of issues. Developing domestic players. Here's the thing that I've taken. I've played in Europe. I've been relegated before. I've played in MLS for 50% of my career. The other half I played abroad. What I will tell you that ProRail does for you is that every week means something. And that means that a coach has to go out and find players, 2 at every position, to compete with you. When I was in MLS, there was times I never felt threatened for my starting job, and that's not a good sign for my own development. I need to feel pressure, and again, in every league in the world, there's gonna have guys who are safely starting in certain positions, but the more often you can have guys needing to compete at their best every single weekend, it's only going to make players better. It's only going to put them in positions to succeed or fail more often and know that there's things on the line. The problem with that right now is that, again, you could be competing for Europa League spots or Champions League spots, or you could be fighting relegation. I mean, we tripled our bonuses when I was in Germany just to survive. It was saying, okay, final 5 games of the season, for every win you get double or triple the bonus to stay in the league. And so there was a lot of things that went into it, but again, it's a completely different system, and a lot of guys crash out in that system. In the US, you you also have guys who thrive in feeling comfortable and feeling like they're part of something and feeling like they're part of a community. And again, very different developmental systems, but I will tell you that the pro rail system, it definitely does challenge you every single day of the week. The training is a lot harder. When you lose games, say you lose 2-3 games in a row, you find yourself towards the bottom of the table. That coach feels the pressure, the club feels the pressure, the ownership's talking to everybody, as opposed to saying, it was a tough year, better luck next year, that type of thing. And there's no perfect way to fix that right now in the US, but I do think that it does increase the pressure on the players and the demand, and it also puts a lot of fans, puts a lot of power into the fans as well, because the fans now have a voice in saying, we want to support this team in the top league. Yes, we'll support you forever, but we also expect you guys, if we're paying ticket holders, to come out and give everything every week. And if you're falling down the table, those fans, that voice grows with their unity, and you start to build that bond with your community and the team. So anyways, that's a long answer, but that's how I feel about it. Who do I think should replace Henkes at Bayern? I'm not really sure at this point. I've always liked Henkes at Bayern. US manager replacements now that Arena's out. Again, I don't know. I think take your time. There's nothing valuable going on with the national team for a couple of years now, at least in my opinion. So take your time, get it right. Also build the system with a coach, those types of things. I feel like when Jurgen Klinsmann had it, it was all on the go and on the fly. And I think now that it can be more strategic to do some of the things. And I have heard, by the way, that Klinsmann has forced US Soccer to spend a lot of money and build a lot of infrastructure, which we're not going to see for quite a few years now, but you'll start to see that in the future generations. Outside MLS, are there clubs from NASL, USL that catch your eye? Yes, Sacramento Republic. That is essentially my hometown club, even though I'm not from Sacramento, but I think it's a club that has done really great things and built up a fan base, an authentic fan base that's continued to support, even though that they're not, having to go wait 1 year and go to MLS or 2 years. I mean, these teams, we're talking about 3, 4, 5 years that these fans continue to go out and support their club, which means that they're supporting the club regardless of what league that they're in. Is it bandwagoning to have different club shirts if they're from the players on your national team? No, not at all. Support who you want to support. If you want to support your national team, then, or players from your national team, support them. And don't worry about what other people are saying or what other people think about you because you have multiple shirts. I mean, enjoy them. That's what it's supposed to be at the end of the day. Entertainment, it's supposed to be enjoyment. Take us away from our day-to-days and have some fun with it. But, if you catch some slack from your friends or whoever, I also get their side of things for whatever they call you. Guys, it's my favorite time for the show. It's time to address you haters. First one is, so Gareth Bale worked for Copa 90 when injured. I'm assuming that was because I had a shoot last week where we did FFS and all my hair was flying all over the place and no one wanted to tell me, but that's not my problem. People are walking really fast around me right now, or maybe I'm just in slow motion. I literally don't play Bale in FIFA because of the bun, and now this, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. It's so crazy. Another Bale bun thing. I wore it for a bun once and I forgot that I had it in a bun because I actually brought a hat that day and had planned to have worn a hat, but I just forgot it. Heath, you don't know what's going on in Cascadia. Jeez, man. I do know what's going on in Cascadia. I painted the picture for you guys, and now Portland Timbers, they won that game, and now they've won the Cascadia Cup, so I know what I'm talking about. So don't be a hater. Actually, you are a hater. That's why you're in the hater section, so maybe you'll turn into not a hater. You're not going to talk about your bitch-ass Arsenal? I mentioned them today. Listen, Arsenal are a love-hate relationship just like everybody has with their own club. And finally, Wally West wants to know what happened to this channel, LOL. Well, you know what happened. We rebranded. We became part of the full Copa 90 family, all sharing one name. One team, one dream type mentality, which is hugely important for us. But what also happened is we're now focusing on the North American fan more than we ever were. Of course, that was always a priority for us, being that we are a North American channel. Now it's very much about the North American fan as well. We used to talk to all the audiences about everything, but we still want to bring you global football as well as domestic football, both international and club. At all divisions, but we want to focus on the American fan, so that's what we're doing. So we're sorry if that upsets you, but that is our perspective and our plan, and hopefully you'll get on board with that. But guys, that's all we have for today. So make sure, get down in the comments, let me know what you guys think, what's going on in the Premier League. Are Man United out of the title race now that they're 5 points back? Are Man City the runaway favorites? What's going to happen at Everton? Will they bounce back? Will they get a good manager? Let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and make sure you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.